Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I think I would like to invite the panelists on stage as well. I don't think we have to do a very dramatic entrance here, but Dora from Trade Republic Growth Marketing Lead, Elia from SocialPoint, I think she's the ASO manager, and then we have Dimitris from Peanut, who is the head of ASO and head of SEO, right? So yeah, this brilliant panel here will be facilitating a discussion today on challenges in mobile marketing. Very broad topic, but we have a few very nice topics prepared. Dora, would you like to break the ice and say a few words about yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Just want to say I'm super happy to be here live, seeing all of you in person. It's one of my favorite conferences, so thanks so much. Yeah, my name is Dora. I am in marketing for the past 10 years and currently working at Trade Republic, where I'm leading the organic growth as well as the partnerships. I'm very happy to be here.
I think, Dora, you're a real veteran in the industry. I think you mentioned that you were working with mobile marketing before app tracking even existed, right?
Well, no, it existed. I just said that there was no fraud.
Okay,
there was no fraud. There was no, the tracking was still there.
Go. And Elia, you're next.
Is this, yeah. So I'm Elia. I'm working on the gaming industry for the last 4 years and as ASO manager in the last year. And I used to work more on the advertising and the creative side of things. Thanks for having me. Super happy to be here as well.
Very interesting. So you came from a creative background, right? But you set up the ASO Foundation in the company, right?
Here at SocialPoint. So as many companies, I think they have the same experience. ASO was shared between product and marketing. And now they decided, or we decided together to have a dedicated team for it. So super happy to be in this project.
Nice. And last but not least, Dimitris.
Hey everyone, I'm more than excited being here. I'm coming from London, working at the startup called Peanut. I'm leading all things around SEO and ASO. Before joining Peanut, I've been working forever in some other startups. Yeah, I'm more than excited being here.
Cool, thanks for that. Yeah, no technical challenges, great. Cool. I mean, our topic today is challenges in mobile marketing, and as mentioned, this is a broad topic, right? We try to narrow it down to balancing innovation, branding, and product, but at the same time, there's more challenges than that. I think as a panel, we identified a few overarching challenges. Number one, of course, the ongoing consumer behavior changes, especially COVID has made us very aware of that. This is also an opportunity on its own, right? Secondly, flooding market spaces. I think all of us are trying to always catch up with the increasing competition on the market. Thirdly, more from a micro perspective, our organizations are not always well equipped to handle changes and innovation. And, you know, I think a large part of today's discussion will also be as to how we should be working together as teams. And I think Alexandra in the previous presentation laid a very good foundation for that. So that's going to be very interesting. And I think the always on the agenda topic of what is now exactly the value or the ROI that we're driving with ASO. So yeah, very, very excited about this. Dora, I'm going to ask the first question to you. What is the understanding in Trade Republic currently of ASO, and where does it sit?
Yes, so the way we operate at Trade Republic is we have pods. And each pod has its main goal. So I'm part of the growth pod. And in this growth pod, we have paid marketing, we have organic marketing, we also have product, engineers, data analysts, etc. So right now, ASO sits within my team with organic growth, but we work very closely with everybody from the same pod. So our counterparts are very often the paid team. ASA, for instance, sits still with the paid team, but works very closely with the organic team. So we don't see ourselves necessarily as completely separate contents, like we really work on daily basis together. Yeah, and we have a little bit of a, I would say, not so typical split in terms of that we don't have one person that does everything ASO, but we have one dedicated conversion manager optimization, optimization manager, sorry. And she's taking care of A/B testing on the App Store, but also on the website. Because we believe that this should be a very similar user journey, and so what are people seeing? Because we have customers both on web as well as we have in the app. So we have a real focus on A/B testing. That also sits in the organic growth.
Interesting. Okay. And Elia, I believe that you're the spearheader of ASO in your company, right? Like, how have you seen it evolving from the moment you started up to where you are now? And basically, what initiatives have you pushed to bring your points across?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Because before, as you mentioned, there were different activities that were taken care about, well, from the product perspective, but also from marketing. And the idea now is having this centralized in one person or at least one team that is not doing everything, it's just like keeping track on things, having this creative approach, so not just focusing on your personal interest. It's more like having an holistic view on everything. Yeah, I would say this is the main change, like having a clear direction, being able to align with everyone's purposes, not just marketing, also product, and yeah, trying to make the most of organic actions.
And I think you've also been pushing a lot of initiatives internally, right, to advocate for ASO on a larger level.
Yeah, especially as for giving visibility on and educate a bit everyone, so everyone has a clear understanding of what ASO about, because it was kind of perceived as a bit painful process to go through it, because it's like you have an app, you need to promote it in your store, but no one was having a clear ownership about it and making people excited about it, as Stuart said before, and have these kind of initiatives and make it comprehensive for everyone. I think it's also a big chunk of our work.
Sorry, one practical tip for everybody, and I really, really recommend it. So what I'm doing right now is very, very similar. I organize dedicated sessions with teams. So for example, the creative team. What does the creative team usually do? You send tickets to the creative teams. In all the companies I work for, all the teams send tickets to the creative team without context. That's not cool. It's not cool. So why not sit with them and just show them exactly the numbers, the performance metrics, and show them these are everybody's going through the App Store or your website, so everybody sees it. It has such a big impact, regardless paid, organic, it doesn't matter. So make them part of the process. Tell them about it, tell them why is it important, show them your roadmaps, your KPIs, your OKRs, whatever it is, and get a buy-in from different teams so they can actually understand what they're working towards. And then once you run your tests, share the results with them, so that they really can understand also what the work they have done has brought. So I really encourage that. I have barely seen it, if at all, if any of the companies. So I think education is the way to go.
Yeah, I like that word, make them part of the process, right? Yeah. I think, Dimitris, you've also done some initiatives to bring everyone to the table, right? Do some education. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So when I joined, ASO wasn't anywhere at Peanut. Actually, when I joined Revolt as well. So I think the most important part is like evangelizing SEO to the key stakeholders, make them understand what SEO is, what SEO does, what are the outcomes, and how it can support the company-wide KPIs. I think this is the most crucial part. Make them understand that it's just not some keyword stuffing or like changing some screens. It's actually supporting the company-wide KPIs. So yeah, what I did is like evangelizing ASO. I created some playbooks so people will feel free to jump on Notion, understand how it works, what we're doing, make everything transparent and visible to everyone. And I think it's important to set clear and realistic KPIs throughout the whole process. Make sure that you have KPIs on a maturity level, so you're kind of not starting from, like the most mature KPIs, since you're starting from, 0.0. But it's good to say, like, we're starting from here, and then we want to go there. So this is the whole roadmap. Making everything transparent is like the key to success. And as everyone said, make the key stakeholders part of the process will definitely be the key to success.
That's very interesting. What practices do you actually witness in your organization in terms of setting holistic visions, holistic targets? Actually, this is an open question. You can all react to that.
Well, I think that first of all, I included, like I did some one-on-ones with people that I will probably work together a lot, like creatives. In most cases, anyone inside the room will agree that we get some pushbacks from product and brand. So I think it's very important to make them understand and giving examples like what our main competitors do, or like competitors, even if you don't have direct competitors, what are the key players in your industry, in your niche, are doing in your category, have some benchmarks, and also, everyone likes big and successful companies, so, having examples or some stats from Uber, from other really, really big players that started pretty low and now they're scale-ups or they have done their IPOs, will always trigger them and create conversations and will make them, oh, let's start, let's do this. Yeah, it's actually a nice initiative. So I think these were the key starters for me, and now we're on a very good maturity level where we have ASO part of the process. So every time something is being changed, every time we are going to release a new feature, we're making sure that I am and the team is part of the process. So we're kind of, nothing goes live unless it's, let's say, ASO approved and reviewed, which for me is a very important part.
And then speaking of holistic metrics, I would say it shouldn't be a very high level one. Say, I don't know, 30 million new users. Great. It has to be a bit more funnel focused as well. We want these users to convert this way, to retain this way, to go, it's like really go down until CRM and then conversion. Don't just let it be at a very high level, because this is not also very motivating for teams. You're looking at one number, but you don't exactly know what's expected. So you really look at the funnel and see like how all the teams actually it converges, because yes, paid will bring some users, but what's the quality of them? Same for organic, then CRM has to retain them or help for the retention, then how do we convert them? So it has to be a funnel view, and everybody should understand that they're influencing each other, and I think that will be very helpful for the teams.
So you'd say that the funnel helps to bring everyone on the same funnel, basically, right? That's, yeah.
Kind of.
That's interesting, and that has worked in Trade Republic so far, to align all the teams. And
I would say that Trade Republic is a fairly young company, so a lot of this is being built as we speak, but I would say that this has worked for us in the past, in SoundCloud, for example.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I'd like to actually switch to a next topic, which is more about reporting and also going back to this metric discussion on the value of ASO, right? I think we've had a few discussions before, and one of the key challenges that we face is that we don't always have the clean metrics that we can use to help us report on an ROI, right? Like, I think, Elia, you have an example where you actually do have access to some tools, right? And I think, Dora, you've done some visionary calculations to find this out yourself. But yeah, what were the challenges around that? Like, what would you say is the key challenge that you don't have a clean metric to start with?
So there are a few challenges in ASO, and as was mentioned before, it's really difficult to read an exact impact and ROI. There are a lot of effects, things affecting everything you do, like seasonality, other competitors doing other stuff at the same time, or other teams in your same company doing other stuff at the same time. So for one hand, one of the things we try to do is to align every team to do a big impactful action at the same time. And even though we are not able to measure the impact of every separate action, we can see the entire project, how it went. So the big splash, the 360 project, or whatever the name is this year. This is, from one hand, what we like to do. And we measure the incrementality or the growth or the impact that drove everything holistically. And then on the other hand, we work with consultancy, in this case it's Stormaven, and they have done a really great integration with our stores, and we are sending also our UA activity and some other key events that they are happening in our games. So we are able to see how everything is connected, so how UA affects organic or ASO and the other way around, and we are able to make hypotheses. So this is also another thing I also talk to my peers, like I cannot say 100% this happened because of this, but I have a list of hypotheses, and we can discuss about which one do we think is the most relevant for this case to explain this thing that happened. And usually it's also a multifactorial thing. So usually it's not one thing, one reason about something happening, is several factors at the same time.
Very interesting. I think, Dora, we discussed before the organic CVR, right? You have a very strong opinion about that. Like,
I'm gonna probably get destroyed by more experienced as ASO practitioners, but basically, when I look at my conversion rate in the App Store, and there's ASA running, the conversion rate looks really bad, and I'm thinking, oh my God, is this real? Are we really converting that bad? But it is mixed with an ASA traffic. So what I did is, like, I went and checked in the ASA console, basically how many impressions we're generating from paid, and trying to subtract that from all the impressions that we see, trying to get a little bit of a cleaner view of organic and what organic is really converting. I don't know how correct this is. I don't think it's very accurate, but what came to the rescue in a way was the store page optimization tests, because then it shows it to your organic traffic, and then you can actually see a real conversion that comes only from organic and doesn't really get any paid in it. I mean, probably it gets, but not directly. And then it looked completely different. But when I say completely different, it was not even comparable. So good news, organic conversion looked good, but when mixed with paid, it could be extremely misleading and distressing, to be honest, when you see such thing in the iTunes console. So I don't have a partner solution that helps me evaluate that, so I do it in a very scrappy manner myself. Now with page optimization tests, we can see a little bit better the real conversions there.
That's interesting, because also not everyone has indeed access to these tools, especially young startups. Dimitris, do you think that there is a role here for the stores to actually spearhead these initiatives, to give us cleaner metrics, to give us better reporting tools?
Well, I think that, at the end of the day, all we want, is more installs, more relevant installs, right? So with Peanut example, we started measuring this and trying to prove, like getting back a bit on the previous conversation, making sure that everyone understands that it's not just organic. Every initiative we take, it will also boost the efforts on paid and all this stuff. So we could, do some calculations about, like, if we increase the conversion rate by X%, this will translate to X% increase on the installs, sources wide, not just, organically. And also one thing that we started taking into consideration is, like, on the next stage, not just bring some users, making sure that we don't add more friction. So we kind of, try to reduce the churned users, because, like, even if we optimize a lot, but the whole process of getting installed, we have a process of identity verification. So this always, creates an extra friction to the user. So making sure that this is, like, more simple and smooth resulted to really good users, which, they installed, and then there wasn't a big discrepancy between, the 100% of getting installs to the 95 or 90 something, where it was actually ended up being, engaged user, which for us is our main KPI.
And Elia, what do you think about that?
About well, I think as an industry or as a field, ASO, it's good that we push a bit for more transparency and more comprehensive data to everyone. And as you mentioned, it should be something a bit more democratic, especially for startups. Yeah, I really believe in that.
Cool. Actually, I want to circle back to the first topic that we discussed. I think, Dora, you mentioned about the pod-based structure that you have in Trade Republic, right? Elia, I think you have squad-based setup, right? Could you explain a bit more on how that actually drives performance, but also reduces bottlenecks internally?
Yeah, this is kind of a new thing also in the company. So we are structured, I think, as a lot of companies. We have marketing, we have every product team that is based on its own project. And what we find out in marketing is that we were working a bit siloed from product. And now with the new Apple releases and everything, with the new features from the store, we need a lot of better alignment within teams. So an initiative that we take is to create this squad. So we make a team based on a project, based on a goal, and we make these ambassadors. So I go to developers team from this game and I say, do you want to participate on this? And we will have these regular calls and we were more in touch and we will create this relationship and we will have the same goals. And having these multidisciplinary profiles in the same team has proven to work a lot in terms of having like lateral thinking, more ideas, how to read performance, having analytics also included on marketing is extremely beneficial. Then have also more creative profiles is also working. So yeah, it's like 5-6 person team that is just created for one purpose. When the project ends, the squad ends as well. But
how long does it usually take for a squad to?
It really depends on the project, but for instance, there is one squad that is regarding influencer actions that has live ops, the influencer marketing manager implied, also I am in there, and some other people, and this is like recurrently, because we do a lot of influencer actions, but now I am creating another squad just for CPPs testing, and whenever we finish the testing phase and we have the outcomes, this will end.
Can you be part of several squads
at
the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Does that work? Because I imagine that you're involved in so many projects, right? Like
yes. So well, it's also a good way for me to keep in touch with people, because when we were at the office it was a bit more easier, and now it became a bit difficult. So we are 300 people, and you cannot really be in touch with everyone. And having this squad system is helping out.
And on top of the squad, what would you say is like a key secret ingredient to making this work, to align, let's say, product teams, brand teams, organic teams? I think this is also something it's probably key, right? And like we said, teamwork makes the dream work. But what would you say is your key secret ingredient?
In our case, I think that we have a strong marketing vision that is shared between product and we have a shared vision. And it's really clear. We have strong ambassadors like the marketing VP and the marketing heads from live games especially that are collaborating a lot and being really vocal about why should we be doing things. Mm-hmm.
I see. And Dimitris, what's your key secret ingredient?
I think being super transparent, making sure that everyone knows what we are doing and we also know what they're going to do, because in some cases there's a bit siloed between marketing, product, brand, and if you don't work all together at some point you will end up with any squad or any department destroying or like creating a mess with the others' efforts, and also quantify everything and making sure that people understand that you have a clear KPI. The KPI probably should be aligned with the company-wide KPIs or even like with their KPIs at the end, because even if you're on the brand and you're creating an influencer campaign, at the end you need more installs, more relevant installs. If you optimize, you still want this. If you are doing some paid stuff, you need more installs that are relevant. So making sure that everyone knows that you have quantified, you have here's our KPI, here's what we can do, and how you can support, or like how we all can work together, for me, is the key to success.
And who has ownership on setting these KPIs?
That's a nice question, right? At the moment, we're not that big company, so I'm kind of owning the organic acquisition part, and in most cases, I'm trying to align with the company-wide goals, which are like, firstly, installs, and then MAUs, which are like the main company-wide KPIs. So anything that we can do to support, it's fine. But overall, I hate a bit the bureaucracy. So trying to keeping the things simple is always the go-to from my side personally, right?
I see. And Dora, what is your thoughts on where the ownership should lie?
I honestly think that it has to be supported by the leaders in the company. So it has to be, because we can continue working with other teams and support each other and try to align, but it's completely different when it comes from the management and, and they downstream it and just say, these are our goals, this is what we're trying to achieve, let's all cater to these goals. And there's this culture is being introduced as to really work with different teams. And when this is already coming from the culture and from the leaders, then it's much easier to translate because everybody should take part of it. You don't have to constantly fight for a little buy-in from this or that, or people disagree what's important. So it has to have this alignment, has to come from the top as well.
This is why you should have like KPIs that are always aligned with the holistic company-wide KPIs, right? Making sure that all the work that you are doing is based at the end of the day of like your main KPIs. If you work separately and set your own KPIs without taking into consideration that company health and hidden stuff, then you will end up not being supported, right?
Yeah. So it depends a lot on the organizational structure, but also on the maturity level and the leadership, right? Dora, is there anything you would like to say to, let's say, a small organization, a startup, right? Like how to manage these or balance these different objectives between, let's say, a product team, a marketing brand team, you name it?
I think that smaller companies don't have the same issues. Like when you're small, you're just really trying to find your place on the market, engage with your audience, and build. So you have less of this struggle of having to choose between brand and product innovation and marketing. So these are things that come with the growth of the product, of the company, of the brand recognition. I would definitely say whatever happens, just try to always be transparent, over-communicate if you have to, do workshops, involve everybody, regardless of how big the company is. That's the way to go.
Do you agree with that, Elia?
Yeah. Completely.
I think you've done a lot of education and workshops internally as well, right?
Yeah. I was working in a ASO vision presentation, and then I make sure that everyone, I was included, or ASO was included in every step, especially for marketing, strategy definition. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think you also told me that at SocialPoint you do have like one integrator, as to say, right, who aligns every department, who also has ownership of all the KPIs.
Yeah. In this case, as Dora mentioned, this comes from the leadership, but then from marketing we have the head of live games that is making sure that all the managers for live games inside marketing, we have the OKRs aligned, we have the same goals, and if we are sharing any project, we are keeping it in touch, and everything is on track. So this is super helpful in the side of he's like the director of, and he's like making sure that the vision is shared and the goals are followed.
So shared vision, shared agendas, strong leadership.
Exactly. Yeah, and over communication. I know
over communication.
A lot of meetings are needed. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. When it comes to like growth and innovation, right? I mean, we face a lot of challenges when it comes to ways of working, also to demonstrate the value. But what would you say, like as an industry, what should we be moving towards doing more of or doing less of? I think Dimitris, maybe you can take this question first.
Well, I think probably everyone in the room agrees that the industry is booming, right? So I don't see something different on the upcoming years. Like more and more companies will understand the value of ASO. So I think the competition will rise as well. So the more detailed you be, the more complex strategies you produce, the better. I don't see this change a lot. And again, in some cases, building foundations and making sure that, you know, as we started saying, like being transparent, being very vocal on your results, this will also buy you some time. You know, oh, guys, we just performed an experiment, it did up well, X% increase on the conversion rate, which results to X% of installs on every channel. So this will buy you some time, and you create, you know, that the thing that people want, trust. So making sure that, you know, you're being transparent, you quantify everything, and you never settle. I think this is also the key. Never settle, because people feel comfortable once they have, let's say, reached a certain level. But then there's another app coming up, a new player that is more, you know, confident, that they just want, you know, long live the king and all this stuff. So I think never settle is also should be part of the success.
Dora, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would add to that what we should do less, we should work less in silos, because this is the reality. We can sit on a panel and make presentations as how we want things to be, but reality shows that silos still exist quite a bit. So I would say what you should do more of is work with teams that usually work in parallel to you, but not directly with you. I can give an example. That's, for example, brand marketing. We have performance marketing, organic marketing, we have brand marketing, and brand marketing, for instance, just operates a completely parallel to everybody else. And yes, you get input from what you're allowed and not allowed to use as brand elements, tone of voice, etc. But it shouldn't be siloed or parallel to it, for that matter, but it should, I think, be brought together and understand how is brand enabling your paid growth, how is it enabling your organic growth, how does it differentiate your brand from others, and kind of also think of okay, brand cannot be sharing the same targets because it's harder to measure, but there are ways we can think of. For example, is my brand awareness now higher on the App Store? Do I convert easier now people because they immediately recognize my brand and they know there is already a differentiator that already brand marketing built? So having this more holistic togetherness, yeah, I think this will be very helpful for everybody.
Yeah, and also I think you should keep people educated, right? There are a lot of releases, both Google and Apple release new features every time. So make them make them aware, make them, understand what this new release means, how we could leverage it, and overall educate them around ASO will also make you make your job better, and also they will make their life easier in terms of collaborating with you.
As an end note, because I am agreeing with everything you both said, I think that as part of marketing, we are also super focused on performance, ROI, data-driven, and I think it's important, but we also need to think from the user perspective to add a value, and this is the foundation of ASO, right? They are not going to convert, and we are not going to be attracting quality users if we are not adding anything at the end of their day. So audience knowledge, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and for that you need access to qualitative research, right? I think, yeah, That's
Exactly.
yeah, the other session that is happening in the other room. But no, that's great. Cool. I think we're coming towards the end. I believe we have 3 minutes left, right? So 2 minutes. Okay, then I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for sharing all these brilliant insights. I think there's a lot of things we need to move towards, but like Dora, you said, it's not just about talking about it during panel discussions, it's also about really acting on it, and teamwork makes the dream work. It's also about finding processes and tools that can help us express the value of ASO, to communicate better, and in line with that, educate and over-communicate, right? Maybe as a concluding remark, Dimitris, what would you say in one sentence that you want the audience to take home today from this discussion?
Never settle, and educate and evangelize ASO throughout the whole company.
Cool. And Elia, what about you?
Teamwork for the win.
Great.
In the same line, break the silos.
Cool. Let's break the silos, guys. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, guys. Very insightful.